KREM 2 News begins now.
It's been a busy week for news across the inland Northwest. Let's get you caught up with the KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus. Here now is a look at some of the biggest stories from this past week.
Spokane has now unveiled what it calls details of an inclement weather plan. But much of what we learned Monday was what we'd heard 2 weeks ago.
That's what the RFP will finalize.
On October 4th, KREM 2 News asked Dawn Kinder where the city will shelter people once we hit freezing temps. And that key detail, where people can seek shelter and warmth, seems to still be on ice. The RFP process, according to the city's own documents, is accepting applications for another week. Here's what we do know. The city has identified 357 surge beds across 6 potential sites, but not all of them will be used this winter. When we pressed on how many warming beds will be available, the city says it can afford to open 100 beds for 38 nights.
Long gone.
Because of funding.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have $250,000 per year to spend on inclement weather, which includes, of course, the cold season, but also the heat season and the smoke season. So it's woefully insignificant.
That's Kinder again, October 4th, when she told KREM 2 the city will now utilize beds from existing shelters to save money and time. That's instead of setting up new pop-up sites.
By utilizing existing services and providers, we could activate November 1 if it was cold.
Under Spokane's own municipal law, the city has to publish and disseminate an emergency shelter plan, including names and locations of centers, center capacity, and a publicity plan for the vulnerable or unhoused. By law, that should be done no later than September 30th. They fill the skies of your commute. Big canvases, as common as a corner coffee shop. Some creating more buzz than others.
Clearly, this billboard has gotten the attention, brought it to light more.
The guy in front of this new sign is H.T. Higgins. He's also the guy behind it because he says he got tired of the same message from Mayor Lisa Brown on emergency winter shelters.
Continually, the administration is doubling down saying, we got a plan, we got a plan, we got a plan. And there really is no plan.
So he's putting out a big message of his own with the feeling time's running out.
This is an emergency. This isn't, putting together a new road. This is about human beings.
He and homeless service providers fear we could hit freezing this week. That's the city's threshold to open up more warm beds. Though the big questions.
Addresses of where unhoused people can go, along with how do they get there, what's the transportation.
Still haven't been put out publicly. When KREM 2 asked again Tuesday where people can go for emergency warming, we were told again we won't know until late this month when requests for proposals are done. We were also referred to Mayor Brown's comments to City Council.
We can procure in advance 100 surge beds that would be ready on a night when the inclement weather provisions are triggered.
But as to where to go to get one of those beds, still a blank.
You just feel empty. It's just such an empty, sad feeling.
So Higgins will fill the void because he and others believe this lack of a clear message.
That's why we're out here doing this in public and saying, hey, hello,
is bigger than a billboard.
What's the plan?
I am standing in the 530 acres known as the Dishman Hills Natural Area in Spokane Valley. Now, I'm told by both state and county organizations that a 6-month mitigation project is starting at the end of October to help with wildfire resiliency.
Spokane County told me, based on historic logging and other human activities in the area, it has created a melting pot of environmental issues.
That has led to generational tree species, all of roughly the same age, being packed into a densely spaced area, all fighting for the same nutrients and light.
Spokane County says as those trees mature, the area becomes more susceptible to struggling competition, with trees and plants dying, diseases, and invasive beetles. This all leads to hazardous scenarios for wildfires.
With fires known to start in this area, which is exactly like the debris I'm looking at right here, environmentalists want to protect the diverse forests, the animals, as well as the homes nearby.
Projects will include forest density reduction, management of encroaching ladder fuels, wood thinning, and bark beetle prevention.
So fuels reduction work is where we go in and we remove excess fuel loading or excess brush, small diameter trees, limb up some of the trees.
The DNR says this allows for more space between trees, which makes it harder for wildfires to spread.
So I'm excited for park users to come to this area and see the transformation that's going to occur. The trees are going to be a lot healthier. There's going to be a lot more open spaces to enjoy.
Now again, the Department of Natural Resources says this project is anticipated to start at the end of October and will go through either next April or May. Spokane County also says to watch out for trail closures as the project continues. In Spokane Valley, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
Initiative 2066 would prohibit state and local governments from restricting access to natural gas. It would also prohibit the State Building Code Council from prohibiting, discouraging, or penalizing the use of natural gas in any building. The campaign was sponsored by the Building Industry Association of Washington, which says it protects the freedom of Washingtonians to have the clean energy of their choice. In March, the state of Washington passed a bill that prohibits any gas company with more than 500,000 customers from getting natural gas service if that service wasn't in place by 2023. A yes vote on Initiative 2066 means keeping the ability to use natural gas in the future. A no vote means eliminating that option for gas companies with more than 500,000 customers.
The Idaho Citizen Requirement for Voting Amendment would amend the Idaho Constitution to require a person to be a U.S. citizen in order to vote in elections in Idaho. Currently, Idaho law prohibits non-citizens from voting or registering to vote in the state for any state or local elections. In 1996, the U.S. Congress passed a law prohibiting non-citizens from voting in federal elections, including elections for the U.S. House, U.S. Senate, and presidential elections. This does not apply to elections at the state and local levels. 16 municipalities across the country allowed non-citizens to vote in local elections as of December 2023. 11 were located in Maryland, 3 in Vermont, and 2 in California.
Coeur d'Alene's new student threat assessment policy simply puts into writing what the school district has been doing already for the last few years. Coeur d'Alene Public Schools believes it may be the first school district in Idaho to codify a policy like this.
The Student Threat Assessment Policy before the Coeur d'Alene School Board is a process used to determine if a student threat is credible.
The biggest reassurance is that we take everything seriously until we know what it is we're dealing with.
Thomas Gandy is the school district's safety and security coordinator. He says they are putting this policy in writing to be transparent with the public about safety practices already in place.
We want them to understand the steps we're taking, the things we have in place to make sure that we vet those threats and that they are safe to send their students to school.
When a threat assessment has been warranted, the policy says a team of school professionals may interview the student who made the threat, witnesses, parent guardians, or staff. The policy says this may help determine the level of risk associated with the threat and develop an appropriate response to the incident. If the student responsible for the threat doesn't participate in the interview and assessment, the policy says they could face additional disciplinary action, including expulsion.
Us handling this now, it really puts us on the forefront, and it puts us in the lead for making sure that as these programs become required and become codified, that we already have plans in place.
Spokane Public Schools has a similar policy in place. It includes a threat assessment team that can be comprised of counselors, security supervisor, and school administrators. The team will assess and identify the behavior of the student who made the threat, conduct interviews, determine the severity of the threat, and how to best respond to it. Suspension and expulsion are potential disciplinary actions, but SPS says just because a threat assessment is initiated, that does not by itself necessitate taking those actions.
The school board is expected to take public comment on this new policy at its meeting next month. In Coeur d'Alene, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Here in Spokane's Arlington Elementary, I am told about 400 students are practicing the Great Shakeout Drill, which is stop, drop, cover, and hold to prepare them for earthquake safety.
The Great Shakeout at Arlington Elementary.
To promote safety and awareness around natural disasters like earthquakes, according to the Great Washington Shakeout, 43 K-12 schools and about 22,000 people practice this drill.
You got to be prepared for the future.
This is an earthquake drill. This is an earthquake drill.
And for young students at Arlington Elementary, it is important for them to learn safe habits early on.
It is better for them to be well planned and prepared so they're not scattered and they're staying calm and able to listen to adult direction for their safety.
Which keeps students' hearts, minds, and especially their limbs away from danger.
If it were to fall, then it would basically protect our head. It's kind of like a hard umbrella. Sometimes it's not going to be a drill. So sometimes you need to practice for the actual thing if it were to happen.
But it seemed the drill had mixed reviews.
How was it?
It was good. It was kind of like scary.
And it's not just students. On 10/17 at 10:17 a.m., work offices, government agencies, nonprofits, and many more opt into the Great Shakeout Drill.
And for those schools or communities that are coastal communities, it's also an opportunity to practice tsunami evacuation routes. I'm in Spokane, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
We want to know more about our candidates beyond the sound bites and the voters pamphlet. I get them to spill the tea so we can learn more about who they are and what they stand for. The Tea with Amanda Rowley, this week on KREM 2 News at 6, where you get more to every story.
Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Tim Pham. Let's get back now to some of the biggest news stories from the Inland Northwest this past week.
Initiative 2117 would repeal the Climate Commitment Act, a state law that provided for a cap and invest program designed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 95%. Supporters say the tax is what's making Washington's price of living the highest in the nation alongside California. Opponents say the program is the true solution to lower transportation costs by getting the state off of fossil fuels. So, a yes vote on I-2117 means eliminating the Climate Commitment Act, while a no vote will keep it in place.
Bright orange and yellow leaves are signs of a new season. This time of year, you'll also find the colors red, white, and blue. Banners, flags, and the iconic political yard sign. You can't avoid them, just like you can't avoid your neighbor.
Hello, I'm Anita Sather, and I'm voting Democrat for the people.
I'm Cheryl McGrath, and I'm voting for conservative Republicans.
They may not share political beliefs, but they do share a property line. So I asked them to meet me in the middle for a conversation. You have Harris wall signs. Why are you voting for Vice President Harris?
I believe that she supports loving everyone, having everyone get an equal chance.
Tell us why you are voting for former President Donald Trump.
I'm voting for former President Donald Trump because I do believe, again, that his policies strengthened America.
It's neighbor versus neighbor, or so you would think.
She's been really a blessing to me. You know, you have rough times, and I know I can always go over to Cheryl's house.
I think one of the most beautiful things about her is her heart. Even more than that is that she and I look different, we vote different, and we drink different wine.
We have quite an amount of honking and four-letter words outside of our house. Some for Cheryl, some for me.
We do bigger and better signs. That's how we jest.
You just wait, lady. You just wait.
No, that was for Trump, right?
They can laugh about the noise and choose another four-letter word, love.
Yeah, we're confusing them to death.
We're confusing everybody.
Like,
what are they doing? I hear a lot of, oh my gosh.
I do too.
Can you even talk to her?
How can you be neighbors with a Trump supporter?
I know, same here.
And how do we answer that?
I love my neighbor.
I love my neighbor. And I think they have a really hard time understanding that.
Back in the day, it feels like, you voted for who you voted for, but you could still get along.
We just out-sign each other.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Each other.
If I see a sign going up, okay, I'll go buy another sign.
We are better because of our differences. And whether we vote differently or not, we still love each other.
Reporting in Spokane,
I love you.
Tim Pham, KREM 2 News.
I'm KREM 2's Amanda Rowley. The voters pamphlet only tells you so much about our region's candidates.
I am a big supporter of national security.
So I don't plan on changing any abortion laws when I get to Congress.
We all want to know more of who they are and what they stand for. So I get them to spill the tea.
What is the most important thing you would want to tackle in Congress?
Get more to every story. The Tea with Amanda Rowley begins streaming this week exclusively on KREM 2+.
As the sun rises over Pend Oreille County near the Idaho border, the home of the Kalispel tribal lands hides in the fog something precious.
It's just a spiritual part of it,
A herd of buffalo.
Look at that. That's so cool.
Sacred symbols of life for the indigenous. The herd has roamed the Kalispel land since 1973.
You see their coat is nice already.
The buffalo are not native to eastern Washington, but have been under Kalispel stewardship for more than 50 years.
That's a pretty gray one right there.
Mark Colson, who is Lakota, and his team from Skokomish are here to take one home.
Good shot there. I pulled the trigger, but it's all of us.
The buffalo hunt has been the way of life for many indigenous people since time immemorial. A somber but swift ritual of smudging shows the buffalo gratitude for its sacrifice.
It's an offering, right? The buffalo have a relationship with the people. And taking the shot is a commitment.
Ixley Whitehawk, along with Colson, has been organizing an Indigenous Peoples Day celebration for the past 10 years.
Somebody get the barbecue going.
All of the buffalo will be used in ceremony. Part of it includes a feast to feed community.
We invite everyone to show up with a good heart, with an open mind, in a humble way.
From the easternmost edge of Washington to Skokomish, the buffalo meat has traveled more than 400 miles to be honored and processed before use.
We're going to be up all night, so we'll be doing that later.
At Mark and Ixley's home in Skokomish,
This may be another roast.
both he and Ixley's 18-year-old have their work cut out for them. Trimming, slicing,
Try this knife.
and filleting
Just like that.
hundreds of pounds of meat.
Oh, it's just a cool feeling, It's that satisfaction of, what your ancestors or your elders have asked, It's like, how will you feed the people?
This
You go like this.
is also a passage of generational knowledge
This will be good practice for you.
in the most hands-on way.
See how I get my knife in there?
It will be a few sleepless nights in Skokomish,
It's easier like that.
but this one buffalo
And I have my blade just slightly tilted.
will feed
Okay, you try.
hundreds.
To sit back and look at the whole community, having one buffalo as part of them now, is pretty neat. It's healing. It's spiritual work taking place, happening on a day that we had to fight for to be recognized.
Now we can start on the bread. I started cooking with my grandma when I was little, and she says that your mood and your prayers and everything that you have while you're in the kitchen is like in the food. Corn, green beans, ground buffalo. We've been laughing all day. So I'm hoping that as people are out there, you know, eating the food, that they're happy and feeling good and just want to laugh.
Happy Indigenous Peoples Day.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus. For the KREM 2 News Weekend Review, remember, you can always watch our latest newscast and weather forecast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just click on the video in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.